the introduction to the Ashfar campaign. I have with me a few of my players, this time the same group from last time, Omni and Avion. We're also joined by two silent players, Tiburon and Kazuko. Both of which, of course, are playing their own characters, and I'll get a little bit of detail about their information as soon as I can. So, of course, last time I mentioned that I was going to go over the countries. I decided that I didn't want to go over the countries at that point because we had already gone over roughly an hour and a half worth of information, and I'm pretty sure nobody has the attention span to actually internalize 17 countries in addition to all of the information about the deities that we went over and the information about the Starborn and so on.
What's that, Tony? Can you say that again? I wasn't paying attention.
Exactly. Point being, its own stuff. So, what we'll do is we'll kind of go down the list. I will start again with the groups that are actually closer to where you start. As we all know, we start in Chilhaim, the tiny little island right there. And let me actually stream this on Discord as well.
I was going to say.
So people can see it in real time instead of being like 30 seconds behind like last time.
I will listen to it. Watching the stream will take too much bandwidth.
That's totally fine. Of course, whenever you speak, it's going to be like a 30-second delay between when you speak and when it shows up on the stream. So if you're watching the stream, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so I tried doing that yesterday, it didn't work, so I just decided to...
It'll fuck with your head. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll start with Kaldraza, because that's the most pertinent location compared to Chilhaim. As we mentioned last time, Kaldraza actually stakes a claim on Chilhaim as one of their primary ports. Chilhaim is technically independent, but they do have a bit of a rivalry, and occasionally do go to war over that. Ironically, Chilhaim is fairly rich, despite it being a small island, and they're able to keep Kaldraza away most of the time. Any occupations are typically crushed by the local druids, because there's a very large druid conclave on Chilhaim.
Chilhaim, is that the one in the middle?
No.
What I'm going to do is, whilst we're going through it, I'm just going to do what I did with After the Ring and just make a political map.
Yeah, totally. That's fine. And of course, Chilhaim is not right in the middle. Chilhaim is right next to Kaldraza in terms of like in the ocean. It itself doesn't have any sea gates nearby, but because it's such a powerful maritime empire and because the druids actually allow for the harvesting of lumber on the island, they are one of the primary producers of the better lumber for the local world at large. In fact, when you guys visit Saragast, you'll notice that there are lots of lumber mills around, and then the port of the city is actually incredibly fortified and big, especially for such a small island with such a small empire. Kavik, I swear to God. Every time. Alright, so first off will be Kaldraza, since we already talked about Chilhaim. Kaldraza is a long-established monarchy. It's one of the wealthier and more refined human nations, specifically human. They are mixed in terms of races. Say, like, I think it's a 75% human, 10% elf, and, like, 15% the others, with more of a focus on, like, halflings and orcs and so on and so forth. Oftentimes, the orcish tribes will intermingle with the humans in Kaldraza and most of the world, but there are a few exceptions. The country recently converted officially to the Marianist religion, sweeping away the old pagan pantheons and that still worshipped in Chilhaim. Of course, when they say pagan religions, that's the Avalon pantheon that we talked about yesterday. Basically, the pantheon that includes the god of the sun, of course, Omni's deity, and so on and so forth. A few of the people in the country still resist this change because the Marian pantheon isn't really talked about too much, except in the next book. And the Marian pantheon is, well, they're less robust of deities. All of the deities in the Avalon and Castellan pantheon are actually a lot more, well, forces of nature than they are like refined, civilized beings.
And what's the main, well, not race. Well, yeah, it is race. Well, what's the main race in Chilhaim?
Chilhaim is technically human, but it has a lot more of a mixed collection than Kaldraza does.
Does it seem like there might be a shared history between Chilhaim and Kaldraza?
Yes, Chilhaim was once a I want to say like a principality of Kaldraza. I'm not sure if that's exactly what the term is. But Chilhame achieved its independence at one point because of their help in the war against the Drow last time, 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
And that achievement of independence was both a joint war of Kaldraza and Chilhame and a little bit of help from, I think, Zos Sarandai. But don't quote me on that one because I'm going to have to relook up that part of the lore.
Right. Because basically this map's a lot better than the Lord of the Rings one I got up, so I'm just doing like races for this one, so people can figure out where they are.
Absolutely. Let's see. The old pagan religion. Yeah, Gale and Jehanan also worship the old pagan pantheon, the Avalon pantheon as we call it. King Titus is the lord of Kaldraza words. He lost his son and heir a year ago in a murderous attack by the clan of Gale, leading him to declare war on the entire nation. This is why Chilhame is not currently dealing with problems from Kaldraza.
Okay.
Leading him to declare war on them. Yeah. Troops are gathering on the river border, but hostilities have not broken out fully as of yet. Kaldraza supplies most of the world with fine glass products, having plentiful supplies of the necessary raw material and generations of experts to work with it. The royal palace of Beacon City is walled on the outside with black glass panels, which looks really cool. It's basically like a giant obsidian castle.
Okay, I'm getting my throwing of glass vibes from that.
Right, that's kind of the joke too. Our joke, I guess that's kind of the point. It's kind of designed and based off of that feeling. A lot of cities are like that though. But yeah, Kaldraza is actually going to play a major role in the second book, as well as Gale and Svarth. So we'll do Gale next, since that one's got actual political ties right now, and outright hostility hasn't quite broken out just yet. Tribal humans, organized into clans, populate the wild, hilly country of Gale. Their culture is similar to that of historical Scotland. The clans are constantly feuding with one another, and no one clan holds dominance for long. Kaldraza has recently declared war on Gale, which is prompting the clans to set aside their differences and unite against a common enemy. This, of course, being kind of like a foil to William Wallace, ironically. They actually have a character later on that's kind of like William Wallace. The border between Gale and Kaldraza is the river Schloss, which is too broad to be fordable in its lower reaches and runs through the monster-infested forest of Myr in the upper. The Kaldrazans have built a chain of forts along their side of the Schloss to watch out for hostile forces. The Gale, in turn, have established camps along their side but lack the organization to build permanent defenses. Most barbarians are from Gale most of the time in terms of PC creation. Of course, there is the thought that Omni could potentially be from Gale, but I'm not sure what their thoughts are on that. And you are, of course, welcome to speak up on that one if you want to.
Was that Zoff, sorry?
It's all good. That was actually for Omni, more specifically, if he's still around. Alright, whatever. That's fine. For now, we'll leave it be. So Gale, of course, is more of a barbaric country. They're not so barbaric.
They're still human, though.
Oh, yeah, primarily. But again, humans are the most populous because they have one of the lowest incubation periods, I guess would be the way to say it. I mean, we have 9 months, whereas an elf has 2 years.
Yeah. But, you know, those elves, they live longer, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Did we get another unread from the Drow War? We did. Yeah, guys, remember to like, favorite, and subscribe if you enjoy what I do and want to see more. Thank you, Kazuko. Your input is worth. I'm not... Oh, man. I feel like such a fucking tool if I were to say that. Okay. Svarth. Okay, Svarth is next. We're just going to go down the list of the countries in order, starting with that top continent like before. It goes Kaldraza, then Gale, then Svarth. The mountainous region is home to more dwarves than any other part of Ashfar. This, of course, is most dwarven homelands. The rock is rich with precious mineral deposits and good iron ore, and the dwarves have tunneled deep to extract it. The dwarves of Svarth are on good terms with the humans of Jehanam, whose gritty, unsentimental, militaristic ways appeal to them. They have fought alongside them more than once, most notably in the Battle of the Azoic Sea. The mountains of the northeast of Svarth are not populated by humanoids at all. They are one of the last places in Ashfar to be haunted by dragons. So long as the dragons are left alone, they are willing to leave the dwarves and humans alone. They pursue their own long, smoldering feuds and bitter territorial disputes. Of course, That actually opens up a couple of adventure lines later on in the storyline. Obviously, first book really doesn't touch on that because it's not important. And of course, I'll be doing, like, once we actually complete the first series of adventures on Chilhaim, I'll be doing another one of these to kind of give people a bit more of what's going on politically between the countries. This is just a primer. So that's Svarth right here. Svarth is actually very nice. Johannam is one of the largest countries and is also one of the most prosperous, but we'll go over that here in just a moment. Any questions so far?
No, I'm just throwing up the dwarfs.
Cool. And that works.
I might have one.
What's up, Omni?
You were talking about Gale a minute ago. I went back and like double read it so I wouldn't say anything stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? I'm still trying to wake up.
You're good.
Would there be any existent orc population there?
Absolutely. In
Yeah,
fact,
in all the kingdoms so far, I'm pretty sure Tony said that basically there's like little small populations of basically every race in this area.
yeah. Say that there's a population of 1 million people in a country, there's at least 1,000 of any other race, except for Drow, but Drow
It would make
awful.
sense for where Pyrrhus would be raised, but I've got it written down. I'm probably going to stay stuck to it that Visk is where he ends up for most of his actual, becoming a paladin.
Okay. Let's see. So if you started in Gale, like say we're born there, and then moved to Visk, that works just fine for me. Because they're fairly close together, and of course it would make sense, if you were leaving to become a paladin, leave my life behind type situation, so totally understandable.
Right. We haven't talked about the Visk yet, have we?
I have not. We're actually going to get to Visk after Johannam.
I heard Johannam was a human one, so I managed to do that a bit prior. I was like 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, you're totally good. If you already know a little bit about Johannam, we're just going to go over it one more time.
Universe is ahead of you.
No. I only heard because you talked about Sparif and how it has issues with Drenham.
They're primarily allied, but they do war occasionally. More specifically, Johannam is very militaristic, so, I like your land. It's mine now, kind of situations.
Yeah.
And of course the dwarves go, oh, humans think they're so special.
Those
Anyway.
dwarfs are very isolated compared to the rest of the races.
Yeah, that's true.
Surrounded by, there's at least 3 human nations right next to them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Back to business on the country descriptions. Johannam, of course, is a militaristic human country. It's home to a proud breed of humans, which is an interesting way to say that. Basically, they're like the Holy Roman Empire, trying to keep the bloodline pure in a lot of ways.
Oh, no.
Who are convinced of their own superiority and invulnerability. The dwarves of Svarth have been trading with the humans of Johannam for centuries, exchanging dwarven metalwork for human meat, beer, and cereals, with the result that Johannam is now the most strongly armed and armored country in the world. The
Iron Flakes.
The Iron Duke rules the country from Bergenstock Castle, a steel-plated fortress in the capital, Crom Calamar. Crom Calamar is a fucking amazing city. Like, looking at the other books, Crom Calamar is so cool.
Con Calamari.
Yeah, I know, right? The Drow were once tolerated and sheltered in Johannam. Following the defeat of their armies in Chilhaim, the humans showed compassion for the survivors, mostly females and children, and assigned them land that they could cultivate on the understanding that they caused no trouble. Much to the surprise of all concerned, the Drow proved able to cohabit peacefully, establishing settlements and even trading their knowledge of magic and alchemy with their human protectors. This arrangement came to a bitter, bloody end when the elves of Zos-Sarandai offered Johannam a massive sum in tribute to cancel the protection, quietly promising a bounty of the head of any drow collected in addition to this. The humans gave vent to their hatred and forced the drow out of the region, an act which the drow have never forgotten, much less forgiven.
I was about to ask, should I put some drow in there?
So
but no.
that's
No,
where
I should not.
that's the one quote that basically puts a giant boulder in trying to make any sort of peace with the Tau in this universe.
The Tau?
It's the Drow.
Drow.
I'm sorry.
It's
The
totally
Tau.
okay.
The subbrains of the drow. They happen to land the towels.
Imagine getting hit from line of sight by a Drow.
Oh my god. So, in this situation, the actual story behind that is a little bit more complex. Just like yesterday when I said the Drow are irredeemably, irrevocably evil. Jahannam actually pulled a plot out of what was going on. The Drow were basically playing nice and trying to get people into their good graces. And as soon as Jahannam was offered the sum, they started investigating a little bit more and found out the Drow actually were planning a pretty serious coup, and that several important Drow had infiltrated the castle as courtiers and servants. The Drow were not benevolent in this situation. It makes it sound like the Drow were able to cohabit peacefully in a good way. It is not a good way. They were literally using that time to infiltrate because they're very intelligent.
I was going to say, it sounds like a German appeasement kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, we'll be friends.
Yeah. But yeah, the Drow are disgustingly evil. I would have to say, like, it sucks because, again, you want to hope that a race is at least redeemable.
They certainly don't follow the greater good.
Yep. Well, why are they the Tau in this universe? Why are the Tau evil? I mean, I agree with the Imperium of Man, but god damn it. All right. Visk, of course. This is where we were discussing with Omni just now about the training of the paladin Pyrrhus. The hills of Vela are where the gnomes live. They have kept goodwill with their halfling neighbors in Verd for many years, although they are far more curious and eager to explore the world. The academies of Vela are acknowledged to be the best in the world where mechanical sciences and handcraft are concerned, and as a result, gnome artisans are in very high demand. Trainee artisans spend a journeyman year traveling the world, working wherever is required, usually as jewelers, stonemasons, and metalsmiths. The capital city of Vela is Quinazi, the pale snow jewel, a city of canals, walkways, and intricate stone fascias. Think Venice.
But not sinking.
But not sinking, apparently, yeah. I mean, it's a gnomish city, so of course they probably built like some sort of giant, buffer to actually float the entire city.
Those gnomes own a lot of land, goddamn.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's because everybody likes them. They want, Visk to be prosperous so they can prosper too. The next one's kind of an open book. We can do Urmish, Kahur, goddamn the names, Murdoch, and the Desert of Sheer. Of course, the Desert of Sheer really doesn't have a whole lot in it.
We may as well just work our way down, so if you start with Urmish, that should be fine.
Works for me. Alrighty. So, Urmish is there. To the northeast of Visk are the hills, woods, and low mountains of Urmish, which is the closest thing to a goblinoid nation anywhere on Ashfar. As with so many countries on the border of Visk, it's a river, and in this case, the river Blut. Urmish contains massed tribes of orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, ogres, bugbears, etc., without any humanoid settlements at all. Only the jungles of Sendra are less civilized. The wall of Grand Laura prevents the creatures from Urmish from moving south, while the river Blut and the tough natives of Visk keep them from moving further westwards. It is worth noting that Urmish is the human name for this region. The population themselves do not have a name for it, nor do they even recognize it as a country. It is simply a place where they live. Of course, a lot of barbarians are also from Urmish. Of course, Urmish being like kind of a immigrant to Visk or an immigrant to Kahur, more specifically. Of course, you mentioned Visk, Omni. I guess why'd you pick Visk over Urmish as a place?
As a place for
just in general
to have moved to?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like understandable for movement and immigration, but was he originally from Urmish? Was your original thought?
Originally, I was considering either Urmish or Gale.
Okay.
Mainly for the fact that I wanted the story for his backstory to go. He ended up, his initial years would have been probably somewhere more barbaric, but I didn't want his father to actually be of those places at the same time. In fact, the whole reason why he has a halberd, the fact why he is a paladin with one of his skill tags being, ride, is because of the fact that his father fought for Visk.
Got it. Okay.
And he ended up, spending a very long time in Gale.
Okay. I'm on board. Next up will be Kahur. It's a hot country, blessed with mineral wealth and huge tracts of fertile land. Has a rigid caste system developed when the elves first made contact and entrenched by them over the years. The nobility are so far removed from the peasantry that they're essentially a different species.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up, actually. Kahur is...
Eugenics.
What's the main population, would you say, though?
It's kind of a mix. Now, of course, in this case, it is technically more human, just like most of the places on this side of the country, or this side of the world. But elves actually comprise a pretty large majority as well.
I think I'll just basically go, yeah, we'll have a mixed culture group as well.
Yeah.
So people don't have, so they can just put whatever they want.
And Cahor is pretty intense. The nobility so far removed, The king of Cahor, Pertav the 31st, is a boy of 14. Despite his age, he is not sentimental and has overseen quite draconian punishments for his subjects. The law in Cahor is rigid and ignorance of it is not an excuse. Furthermore, the upper classes can commit certain offenses with impunity, while a serf would be stoned to death for the same thing. There literally is one law for the rich and another for the poor. Cahor's principal dependency, Shumil, is much more relaxed. Many of Cahor's people migrate to Shumil in the hope of finding a more tolerant society, although the work there is no less hard. On the border of Cahor and Urmish lies the Wall of Grand Laura, a spectacular structure of white stone consisting of a single unbroken wall with guard towers at half-mile intervals. The wall has defended Cahor against the monstrous humanoids of Urmish for generations. So, of course, we got ourselves the Great Wall and the River Blut right there.
The gnomes built a massive wall to keep everybody out.
Alright, and that looks like Utarduk or something like that. Let's find out.
Utag. Is
Murduk.
that the one like just
Murduk
underneath
Ram.
Fisk?
It's Murduk Ram is the name of the place. I was trying to figure out.
It's the landlocked one, isn't it?
Yes, it is the landlocked one, right next to Cahor. This country of high mountains and eternal snow is under the control of the wise, benign monarch King Calimon, who remains neutral to the conflicts of his neighbors and has occasionally been able to broker diplomatic solutions to their differences. Basically Switzerland.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Nobody has ever been able to invade this country, as even the peasants seem to be schooled in martial arts.
It's the veil.
There is an abundance of monasteries in Murduk Ram, which saw seekers from all the nations of the world. Those, who would learn the fighting art of the monk are well advised to pack light and travel to the mountains. And of course, they don't have a specific, leadership structure. The monasteries have kind of like a high conclave council, but they don't really meet very often.
Yeah, I'd say it's like more of like a respectful, everyone has their own little areas and we group up if someone tries to attack us.
Basically, yeah. And of course, Switzerland, I should say fantasy Switzerland is pretty cool.
Anything on the what's it called?
Demographic?
Yeah.
They're actually more mixed than most. Humans are only like 51% of the population there, but you got elves and dwarves and pretty much anybody that wants to be a monk goes to Murduk Ram.
Alright, I'll stick them in the mixed culture group.
That works. Next up will be the Topaz Dominions, considering they are slightly more north than Belgium. So the Topaz Kingdoms, or the Topaz Dominions, this mighty kingdom of pyramids and sand dunes is ruled by a sun king, who his people believe to be the earthly incarnation of a god. Think Egypt.
God Emperor.
Basically, its people are sun-brown and brawny, raised with a respect for wizardly magic, since human wizards are often in charge of cities here. The Sun King's special infantry forces, the Phoenix Legions, are also priests of his faith, giving him the power to wield divine magic while in the fray. The lands of the Topaz Dominions are strikingly different from the northern countries, in that buildings are made from clay and stone rather than bricks and mortar, and some of the finer items one would expect to find are rare or missing altogether, as such as sophisticated locks, full-plate armor, rapiers. The people are content to live in a more technologically backward land, as the prevalence of magic makes many devices redundant. In fact, the Topaz Dominions are one of the primary researchers of Manu magical art. If you want to learn esoteric spells and you want to become more powerful in magic, getting into the good grace of any of the priesthoods in the Topaz Dominions is a good idea. Although, good luck.
So is that? Like you said, it's like all ruled by little human kingdoms. So it's like a bunch of Topaz city-states.
Yes, and of course they're all ruled by the Sun King. If you're familiar with the Tomb Kings in Warhammer Fantasy, they're basically the Tomb Kings meets Egypt meets Araby.
Right, I'm gonna put those down as humans because there's a lot of human influence there.
Absolutely. The Desert of Sharn, which I apparently skipped because it wasn't in the D. This bleak, sandy zone of dead land effectively seals off Johannam and the northwestern countries from the remainder of the eastern continent. It is all but uninhabitable. Only monsters, madmen, and hard-bitten desert nomads live here. As if the heat and lack of landmarks were not enough, large lodestone deposits cause magnetic compasses to behave erratically, making magic the only means of navigating the desert. There are legends of demon-haunted rock plateaus in the desert center, although these have never been confirmed. Now, of course, the legends of the demon-hunted rock plateaus, there's actually one particular one that's very interesting, and anybody from, say, Johannam or Cahur would probably know it. Essentially, it's the demon of the voice, where at night, if you are traveling through the desert within some number of miles, it doesn't actually specify, but near it, all you can hear in your head is just the whispers of the dead and the people that are around you. They essentially whisper, don't go that way, to no matter which direction you go. And eventually, it kind of drives you mad enough that, you notice a pattern. You feel like occasionally they don't say don't go that way. And if you listen to that and start following the don't go that way, or the pauses instead of the voice, it'll eventually take you there. And that is kind of terrifying because the creature that lives there is very much it's an eater of souls, basically, and it's pretty fun. And that legend is a bit scary. If you actually were to be out in the middle of the desert and suddenly you just hear, the screams, moans, and whispers of something coming at you.
Yeah.
I thought that this book did not have an image of the Desert of Sharn or a description of the Desert of Sharn, hence why I skipped it, so pardon me. Next up will be Valjean, if anybody else has any questions about the desert.
I'm just guessing the desert, no one lives there 'cause it's fucking death trap.
Yeah, basically. I love how there's magnetic lodestones as well. That's a very intelligent way to say compasses don't fucking work. Valjean, a predominantly human republic of Valjean, is a prosperous and stable country, with murky, damp Kandang as the south and the cryptic, bleak mountains of Marduk Ram to the north. Valjean is a realm of stability between two extremes, the rulers of a council of elected representatives led by a president referred to as the Falcon Elect, raised in the city of Sephardia. There is considerable hostility between Kandang and Valjean. Kandang once occupied the entire region south of Marduk Ram, including the forests of Kal, most of the southern portion of Cahur. Under the benign, if autocratic rule of the Dragon Kings, the entire region was renowned for its wealth, magical prowess, and the wisdom of its rulers. Approximately 1,000 years ago, at the last equinox of the heroes, many of the family of the Dragon Kings were destroyed along with their patron golden dragons. At the end of this massacre was a black dragon, Scaliniandrax, who had recently fought and overcome the silver dragon Aristeal above the mountains of Svarth, and was now convinced of his own vulnerability. The rule of the Golden Ones in Kandang had been an annoyance to Scandaldrax for many years. He tore into their civilization without mercy. Many of the humans fled to the eastern forests, the land that is now Qual, for refuge, where groups of the elves took pity on them and helped to shelter them. In the chaos that followed, the remnants of the Dragon Kings attempted to re-establish their rule over the southern Kandang, while a group of ordinary humans were simultaneously rallying the survivors in the north. Without their dragon patrons to guide them, the Dragon Kings rapidly became mere tyrants, demanding subjugation and obeisance. This merely hardened the resolve of the rebels, who declared that Valjean was to be an independent republic. Think basically America if the British were controlled by golden dragons. And made stupid military decisions. Oh wait, they already did that. They should not have fired Cornwallis. They really shouldn't have. He would have won the war for him. Anyway, and then of course we have Kandang as that, and Murak Maran. But do you want to hear about Kandang first or Murak first?
But we missed one. Qual.
Qual? Qual up there. Good catch. Qual, this region is thickly forested with great rolling swaths of green land between the wooded regions. It is widely believed to be the most beautiful country in Ashfar. All of the settled lands, it certainly has the least built upon. Well, yeah. Qual is home to several thousand families of wood elves who came here via the sea portals from Zos Sarandai and preferred life in the wild to the unending dream of Shalanoi. There is a huge half-elf population in Qual. This goes back to the time when the dragon Skalandrax and the armies that were allied with him laid waste to the kingdom of Kandang, sending the population of entire towns fleeing into the forests of Qual for shelter. They had previously had a superstitious fear of the forest and the elves that dwelt there, but the horror that was tearing their land apart was worse. The elves realized that the humans were unfit for life in the deep forest and would die without their help, so they chose to shelter them, even going so far as to adopt some into their own families. 1,000 years after these events, there are very few pure-blooded humans left in the forests of Qual. Almost the entire population is elven or half-elven.
Just gotta put them down as wood elves and then...
Absolutely. And Qual is also very interesting. Of course, there is this sea gate, which ironically isn't used very much. This is the sea gate that Valjean, Visk, and Kandang use most of the time. Although Kandang also likes to use this one. Anyway, Kandang or the other M1 that I can't remember off the top of my head now because I've scrolled down. Murdoch Moran, unless that's not even in the options right now. It doesn't look like it. So I guess Kandang it is. And I know why, because there's a couple of story elements with that place. The southern tip of the continent is a marshy place of river deltas and rice fields where the houses of common folk are built on stilts. The part of Kandang has whole families of boat people who live in their lives migrating from island to island. Further north, one finds ancient cities and lonely towers on hillsides, along with curious ruins from an age where dragons walked among men in human form. A hereditary line of sorcerers forms the monarchy of Kandang. The usual claims of dragon blood apply. Specifically, the ruling king claims descent from the golden dragons who lived in the area when the humans were still living in caves. These legends are well documented and are in fact true. To be a sorcerer in Kandang is a great honor. It proves that one is related, however distantly, to the royal ones of old, the dragon kings. However, it does make for some strange customs that are repellent to foreigners. The best known customs is that of blood preservation. In order to preserve the royal blood in its full strength, interbreeding among the royal family is not only common, but required by law. Brothers are married to...
country.
It's talking about like slow destruction of a country over the course of several generations. Brothers are married to sisters and parents to children. Wow. The result I mean, it's basically Louisiana in terms of like layout as well, which is the sad thing. Like the way that everything looks, because Louisiana is really, really swampy.
The land of kinkiness.
Oh my god. I'm not even going to look. Let's see. The best known custom is that of blood preservation, yeah. The result of this is that several members of the dynasty are both physically and mentally unusual. That's a good way to say that. Those with the strongest connection to dragon blood sometimes have draconian characteristics, such as hourglass-shaped pupils, forked tongues, or scaly-looking skin. In fact, most of them are dragon disciples.
I put them down as dragon bones, then.
Yeah, well, dragon disciples, half dragons, but yeah.
I put like dragonkin. That'll do.
Sure, dragonkin. That works for me too. All right, Murdoch Moran is not shown, and there's a reason for that. Verda would be next. Of course, any questions about that continent? Because that effectively finishes off the continent as far as you guys care.
So you got Moran and Mulan. Moran, sorry.
It's okay.
Which is the dragon place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Kangdang.
Or Kandang is the dragon place.
Okay.
Valjean is the Republic. Qual is
that's the American one. And what about the Moran?
Muraq Moran is not in this book, and there's a reason for that.
Okay. I'll just ignore him for now.
Yeah, for now, don't worry about it. They exist, and they are a thing, but nobody should be from there, I guess is the way I want to say that.
Is it like Drow?
No, but there is some interesting stuff going on there. And of course, once we get to the second book, I'll be doing another, obviously, introduction series to it, so we'll kind of have that going. Yeah. And I'm going to just like make a joke out of it, just be like, yes, like and subscribe. All right, 10:22, so we got some time. All right, let's do Verda next, assuming Verda actually is on this list. Or is it Vela? Let's find out, actually. Yep, that's Verda, and Vela's below it. Okay, cool. So Verd is probably how it would be pronounced. Yeah, this green and peaceful country is the home of Ashfar's halflings, who live here as they have always lived, content and isolated from the world. Think the Shire from Lord of the Rings. The dangers here are very few. There are no monsters any more than even strangers from other races are uncommon. The elves of Zosterandi intended to build a sea portal by Verd, but the halflings petitioned them not to, as they did not want their home opened up to the world. Their request was honored, and Verd was left in peace. Occasionally, a halfling born in Verd will find the peace and quiet unbearable and go adventuring, taking a ship to Jahannam, Kaldraza, or the Eagle Nations. Many halfling adventurers hail from Verd and have a strange mixture of homesickness and resentment for the place. Next, of course, would be Vela, who is directly south of Verda. Vela is, of course, where the gnomes live, another gnomish country.
More gnomes.
Yep. They have kept goodwill with the halfling neighbors in Verd for many years, although they are far more curious and eager to explore the world. The academies of Vela are acknowledged to be the best in the world, and mechanical sciences and handcrafting are concerned. Oh, no, did I read the wrong one? Yeah, I did read the wrong one.
What a nice island filled with no issues whatsoever.
You know what I did? I fucked up. I read Vela instead of Visk.
Okay.
Whoops. All right. Well, that's going to be funny for people.
It's not going to be peace. There's no peaceful. It's not peaceful. Maybe it's like pirates at the bottom of it.
Yep. Also, Omni, why didn't you call me out on that? Oh shit, that was funny. Okay, the Empire of Visk covers more ground than any other single dominion on Ashfar, ranging from the temperate eastern zones of the flat northern tundra to where the nomads and shamans go. The people of Visk are nomadic for many generations before they settled and are still most comfortable in the saddle, ranging from town to town. The horsemen of Visk are the finest in the world, whether they be the cavalry of the royal guard or the raiders that prey on the border towns. The Emperor of Visk is Carnatius, who is 60 years of age and looks 40, and rules his empires with the confidences of an unconquerable tyrant. He is known to have escaped death countless times, walking away from assassination attempts that left those around him torn to shreds. Some say that Carnatius is no longer human, that he's some sort of vampire incarnate ghost. Others claim that he is one and the same person as the historical conqueror, Uzbal Jin, who subjugated the lands in the western Visk 800 years ago. This is basically the Mongols. I was wondering, I was kind of like, why are the gnomes in the largest fucking country? Yeah.
No, so they're not gnomes anymore. Okay, I've got
They are not gnomes, yeah. This is a very human place with the horse masters, so I was wondering, but I didn't question it because I just didn't fucking read, apparently. Everyone's gonna laugh at me.
Even I was like a bit skeptical about the gnomes having so much fucking things.
Right, exactly. I don't know, whatever.
Luckily, it's easy to change because I could just fill in paint.
It's just me not paying attention because I'm so tired.
So there's a nice peaceful island where there's just some gnomes and some halflings just chilling.
Yep, they hang out together and they love each other or something like that. I already read Vela, but of course we can get that all figured out. Anyway, So it's 800 years ago and set the entire city to the torch when they did not capitulate. Whatever may truly be, his people all fear him, even those who adore him and would gladly die in his name. There is an uneasy peace between Visk and Jahannam, although the nations have been at war more than once in the past. The desert of Sham forms a natural shield, although its northern end can be and has been sent through it. The most celebrated failed invasion of Jahannam came 300 years ago in the Battle of the Aziog Sea. Then a massive force of troop ships from Visk attempted to land on the southern coast of Jahannam and were repelled by the dwarves and humans of that land fighting together. The superior weaponry on the Jahannam side smashed dozens of ships of Visk to splinters before they could make landfall. So yeah, Visk is, again, the Mongols, basically. They're all pretty interesting, and of course, the rumor that the Emperor is a vampire, considering he was around 300 years ago, is kind of interesting.
The local inhabitants call this place Barovia. There's always a sense of fog.
Yep. Strahd's involved, guys. That's who the Emperor is. No. As much as I would love to get sued by Wizards of the Coast, obviously they didn't steal anything of that. Okay, Zosterandi. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just sorting out some new races.
You're good.
Ignore my ramblings.
Also the Corona, guys. Anyway. Zosterandi. The island of Zosterandi, home to the elven archmages, is the undisputed center of the world. Around the island are titanic stone archways, the sea portals, which connect similar archways in far-off parts of the globe. This feat of magic has enabled the elves to colonize the various continents and keep their colonies supplied and defended, without having to risk the hazards of the open sea. Later, when the portals were made available to other races, they grew wealthy beyond measure from the fees they were able to charge from the use of their transport system. Zos-Sarandai is the crossroads of the world. Almost all ocean-going traffic travels to its destination via this magical island. It is almost entirely urbanized with 2 tiers to the city. The outer districts are those which the other races live, along with those elves who are involved with the shipping or trade. These districts are essentially a huge mass of dockland, with buildings ranging from salubrious structures of marble where ships and peacock sails lie in harbors, all the way down to filthy warehouses and wharves where the most excesses and decadence can be indulged. The inner districts are restricted to the elves and their few honored guests alone. They are, politically and magically, the most important regions in all of Ashfar, as they are the points from which the portal network is controlled. This system is the source of the ruling house's immense wealth and the enduring dominance of the elves, even though they no longer have colonies across the world and the sun has finally set on their empire. Zos-Sarandai is actually very beautiful. Like, the island itself. Go ahead.
When it comes to Zos-Sarandai, what's the main race of elf, would you say, is there at the moment?
Grey elf. Or not grey elf, high elf.
High elf. Right then.
Grey elf. Wait a minute.
No, grey elves are, they're essentially the intelligent versions of normal elves, at least in 3.5.
Oh.
They're the ones that get +2 int, -2 con. Go ahead.
Saying elves are stupid?
No, I'm just saying elves are like average. Normally. Yep, that's right.
Average elves in my D&D universe?
It's more likely than you think. Anyway.
Find out now.
Racist against my elf.
Alright, next up will be Lost Athul. Athul is an amazing name. This island was once home to the Myrick, a species of sentient, tentacled bipeds that have now died out, who worshipped a vast sea beast as an incarnate deity. Although the Myrick never allowed visitors further inland than their ports, leading to speculation that they were carrying out horrible rites on their lopsided temples, they were still willing to trade. They supplied Zos-Sarandai with pearls, whale oil, and fish in such quantities that a sea portal was built by the harbor to offer to a deal with the volume of shipping. I forgot about that. Athul was lost in a titanic cataclysm that submerged the island completely. The Myrick appear to have been wiped out entirely. The trading ships that came found thousands of floating dead bodies. The sea portal is still standing. Yeah. Wonder what happened.
Lost Anful isn't there?
No, it does not exist.
There's just a nice sea pool and there's some dead bodies.
Yep. It's the island, this is where it once was, is more specifically about that one. And yeah,
I might just fill it in so like on the map it's like not even there.
Sure, that's fine. I mean, you can also like use a dotted line to show that it's submerged or something like that, depending on what you have available for your map maker.
But I've done it so well now; it's just completely gone.
All right, cool. That's fine.
I'll leave the name there, but you know
that's fine.
You can kind of see it if you squint a little.
Mm-hmm. Do they talk about the corona in this one? They do talk about corona. Okay. Corona, otherwise known as the crown of the world, is a series of gigantic ice peaks that rise out of the sea, strangely regular and artificial looking. The peaks form an insurmountable barrier, concealing whatever lies beyond them from the eyes of the world, although creatures with the power of flight could theoretically fly over the mountains to see what secrets Corona hides. None is known to have done so successfully. Wild theories nonetheless abound, with some tale-tellers insisting that beyond the peaks there is a titanic hole leading to the interior of the world, and others describing a bizarre city built by a race older than even the elves. Whatever is behind the peaks of Corona, one thing is known: it occasionally sets the northern sky on fire with rainbows of light chasing each other in arcs and ripples. These lights can be seen from the waste and the northern mountains of Kaldraza. Basically Aurora Borealis. The spine is the next part. The spine, wherever the hell it is, there it is. I hate how they do that. They should just... whatever. Jagged mountains known collectively as the Spine encircle the southernmost landmass of Ashfar. These are not the immense ice peaks of Corona, but a series of broken, crooked masses inhabited by frost giants and other monstrous creatures. The land around the South Pole is taboo. None of the residents of the outer mountains will go there. This is because it is a frozen battlefield. It preserves the ice-stiffened bodies of hundreds of dead frost giants and their warriors, a grim memorial of a time when the various giant clans waged war upon each other.
So there's just some nice frost giants down there chilling.
Absolutely.
Chilling.
Frost giants. You're so funny. Next up will be Brith's Folly, which is right here.
Is there any more giants actually in the world, or is it just the frost giants?
Yeah, frost giants in the spine, hill giants, and your typical normal giant types do exist around the world. I was
going to be very generic and say giants, so you just make more work for fun. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I do have options for other things like that, and there are giants pretty much everywhere in the world. They just kind of are not common.
Yeah.
All right. Brith's Folly. This craggy, featureless stretch of land is where the god Brith is said to have severed his malformed left hand, which then grew into the spider goddess She that the Drow worship. A crack in the ground supposedly leads to the kingdom of the Drow. Although it's a fucking straight drop. Good luck. It's basically a gigantic open chasm. It's like a big mouth. And apparently Brith threw his hand in the hole and was like, whatever.
No big deal.
Mm-hmm. Alright, are we traveling north, or are we going to circle all the way around like this?
Might as well travel north.
Alright, let's do... We're starting at the north then, or traveling north slowly?
Traveling north, so Brith's Folly, then Shalonai, and then the Horn reaches.
Got it. Alright. Assuming Shalonoi is talked about, which I think it should be. Yep, there it is. Shalonoi.
Wait, hang on. Well, I may have missed Brith's Folly.
Oh, Brith's Folly was the giant fucking chasm where the Drow are said to be from. Basically, Brith apparently severed his hand. Yeah.
Evil Drow, got it.
I mean, yeah, it supposedly has a gigantic chasm that leads straight to the kingdom of the Drow.
I'll get him as purpley.
So, I mean, if you could just remote airstrike,
Mm-hmm. The day we invent nukes, we'll just drop one down. Alright. This was the original elven homeland of Shalonoi, before Zos-Sarandai was discovered and colonized. It is the oldest continuous civilization in the world. Only that of the now-destroyed Myrick was older. Many of the glorious temples, palaces, and towers of the Shalonoi have stood for 3,000 years, and are expected to stand for 3,000 more. Nothing important has changed in all that time. The inhabitants almost seem as if they are living in a perfect dream. Shalonoi is a flawed paradise, and simultaneously beautiful and stagnant, stifled under the weight of its own history. There is more magic worked in Shalonoi than anywhere else in Ashfar. The country seems to run on it. At times, it is as if the occupants would rather cast a spell than exert themselves in any other way, even for something so simple as opening or closing a door or lifting a book from a shelf. The place is, as human wizards have come to say, drunk on magic. Which, I mean, if I had the ability to cast prestidigitation and, levitate drinks, I would just have one in front of me constantly, so I wouldn't have to hold it. I, of course, wouldn't use it to pick everything up, but I would definitely carry my drink in front of me.
This sounds a bit lazy.
Yep. The Horned Reaches. Of course.
Are those high elves again?
Yeah, absolutely. These are. This was the first homeland of the elves. Of course, as you can tell, I don't know as much about some of these places as I do about the other countries, mainly because I've only ever gotten through the middle of the second book before the campaign fell apart.
Don't worry about it.
I promise you it'll fall apart about the same time. I'm kidding.
Oh, man. I'll cry. I'll just be like, not again. Get off my server.
Even if only group fell apart, I'd be there. I'd just have adventures with my character, and he'd be the main protagonist.
And he'd become Go ahead.
Talking to all these NPCs by himself. All at the same level.
Exactly. I'd make him a Gestalt character so he's actually capable of surviving the dungeons.
Yep, okay, hold reaches.
Gestalt characters where you take 2 classes per level.
What?
Yep, we don't play like that.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've played Gestalt.
That sounds like low-key forbidden.
No, it's just
feel right.
The power level is ridiculous, but it's action economy that balances them out. But yeah, I've made some pretty fucking broken characters doing that. This vast area. Go ahead. Sorry.
The Horned Reaches.
Yeah, the Horned Reaches. This vast area of desolate prairie is named for the herds of horned animals, buffalo, ibex, antelope, feral cattle, and the like, that roam across it, migrating from one feeding ground to the next. It has never been settled, as there is no easy way to transport materials and supplies out into the deep wilderness. Besides, the land is more suited to wild herds than to people. Some wild tribes of elves live here, but the descendants of exiles who were driven from Shalonoi centuries ago and who have adapted to living in this inhospitable wild land. God damn.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. The Horned Reaches form a natural barrier around Chalanoy. Few people would bother crossing the seemingly endless prairie to reach the Elven lands, which is one reason why they have lain undisturbed for so long. The sea gate between Zos Sarandai and Chalanoy is open only to the elves and those who they invite. It is not open to tourists or casual visitors. I love how they mentioned that in the Horned Reaches entry and not the entry.
I was like, yeah, we haven't got much to talk about. Just talk about the Shumalai.
Them elves, man. Alright. But yeah, the Horned Reaches. It's fucking big. That's kind of the whole point. And
I'm just gonna leave it open as like another desert place, like the desert of Sharam.
It does have wild elves living there.
Wild elves, yeah, but they're not
Civilized?
a big enough population for me to really class it as a national population. Like, there's a lot of other things there by the sounds of things as well.
Yeah,
if anything, I'd put them in mixed, but I'm gonna leave it as a desert for now because that's what it basically is. It's just a grass desert.
Makes sense. All right. Shumil. Whereas the colonization of the Ingle nations was an every man for himself affair, with warriors claiming whatever regions of the scarred land they could take, the colonization of Shumil was far more orderly. Think like the Rush for the West or the Oregon Trail. Shumil was originally almost as inhospitable as the rest of the Horned Reaches. However, when colonists from Cahor first arrived, they brought their distinctive irrigation and plateau cultivation methods with them, which quickly brought flourishing crops to the region. Shumil remains a satellite of the Kingdom of Cahor, supplying that country with exotic spices and silks. Its culture is much like that of Cahor. What's up?
It's Cahor.
Well, Cahor is on the other side of the world. Let's see. So,
okay.
Yeah. Cahor is right here.
Whoa, okay.
And here's why, because the world is round.
Okay. That makes sense. I was wondering. It's like in Avatar when you're like, why don't the Fire Nation just go around the map and just attack the capital straight away? Because that place isn't round, apparently.
Oh, that's dumb. That's really dumb. All right.
Even though they have a scene where there's a sphere of the planet.
Its culture is much like that of Cahor without so much of the old world hierarchy. Shumil is a land of merchants, laborers, and tradesmen, not of lords and serfs. Natives of Shumil are usually humorous, sarcastic, and enterprising, quick to see the potential profit in any undertaking. Shumil is actually a very nice place to live, despite it being like the Wild West. Next up would be Sendra. Sendra, the land bridge between the northern and southern continents, is a sprawling rainforest many hundreds of miles from end to end. While the colonists to the north were able to cope with the more temperate climes there, even if they had to wrest the land from monsters, the humidity and sheer danger of Sendra's jungles was too much for them. The jungles were quickly infested with kobolds on the outer edges and reptilian life forms in the unexplored heart. There are travelers' tales of human tribes living in the jungle who speak no known language, although these have never been verified. Expeditions have, however, brought golden ornaments and utensils out of deepest Sendra. Whether these are the work of humanoids or some skilled non-humanoid race remains a mystery. But yeah, Sendra's big rainforest. Think like South America, probably a good portion of Brazil.
I'm guessing it's less like a bunch of tribes and stuff again.
Of course, lizard folk live there as well. That's actually the primary population.
I think I might put lizard folk down because everyone likes a good old snake boy.
Snake boy. They're not Yuan Tai though. I mean, there might be Yuan Tai. Who knows? I know, but
you don't.
I mean, I do actually know what's in the middle of Sendra. Anyway, the Eagle Nations. This huge country was originally entirely wild and was referred to as the Scarred Land, Sacred Land. The monstrous humanoid giants and dire animals made up its population, and the only humanoids to live there were small bands of wood elves, who were tough and resilient enough to cope. Some 600 years ago, a group of decommissioned Kaldrazan warriors decided it was better to live as rulers of a new land than servants in the old one. They set off for the Scarred Land, determined to carve themselves out a place in the world. The fighting was hard, but they cleared an area large enough to support a village and kept it fortified. This village grew into a town and eventually a small city. The elves of Zos Sarandai, impressed by the humans' bravery and tenacity, constructed a sea portal to help them in bringing supplies and colonists. Over the last 5 centuries, colonists have been shipping out into the Scarred Land with the same dream as the original warriors. Every country in the world, with the exception of the Elven nations, has had people leave for a better life in the colonies. What the hell is that noise?
It's a message.
Yeah, but is it me that's getting the message, or is it?
I think so, because I'm getting them too.
Alright. Where are they coming from?
Your server, I think?
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely. Come on in. All right. Yeah, I'm just noticing that it's not like coming up with actual notifications, which is kind of weird. Hi, James. All right. So I guess we're going to be going over the remainder of. Oh God.
So which nation was that then?
That one is the Eagle Nations. We haven't finished them yet. The Eagle Nations, of course, are the Kaldrazan warlords that decided, like, you know what, screw this place, I'm going over there, and built their own village and stuff.
Right, the Kaldrazans, they're like the...
They're the militaristic people, the ones that made friends with the dwarves in the mountains.
Are they the bird folk, but in normal D&D? I can't remember.
No. Oh god. Man, everything's happening so much. Okay, no, so Kaldraza, this one, right here, is
it's the blue one.
Yeah.
Blue people.
Blue people. And Johannam is the most militaristically powerful country in the world. Kaldraza, of course, being a country of essentially warlords and having the Black Obsidian Palace is the best way to remember them. What they ended up doing was basically just going noop all the way over here. Or noop, whichever way is faster. I don't actually know and I don't want to measure. Oh, Jesus. That was weird. Sorry, I don't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah, I think what the best way to get there would probably be to drive past the shard.
Yeah. To answer your question, James, it is in setting information, and if you go, oh god, really needs to fucking stop doing that.
Did he just like fall off the face of the earth?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell just happened. I think what's happening is my phone is all like, I want to connect too, and so it's doing that. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Okay, so I fixed it. We're fine. Anyway, to answer your question, James, it is in the setting information. If you're looking at my screen and we scroll up a little bit, it's right here.
Is it your stream?
Yeah.
Oh no, displaying the campaign, setting information.
Yeah, my stream is going to be showing the map occasionally, but I'm basically showing off the actual stuff. All of this information is included in setting information. Yeah. But the map is right here in setting information. It's just above one of my pins if you want to take a look at it and keep it up on your screen so you can follow along. Avion is also crafting a map right now, which he will publish, I assume, at the end of this.
Why is the map sideways? Why do you do this to me?
I didn't do it. It was the book that did it.
I believe his Adobe reader can rotate at 90 degrees.
Yeah, I know.
I'm making a demographic map, so don't worry about that. I'll upload that after this.
Yep. Of course, if you want to, you can go ahead and like pull it up in like Chrome or something and rotate it 90 degrees. Anyway,
It's already done it for you. Someone's already done it for you. You just type in images.
Oh, good. Then somebody is a freaking hero. All right.
What about the shard?
We're not done with the Eagle Nations yet.
Oh wow, so much about the Eagle Nations.
But yeah, once we get to the shard, we'll get there in a second. So, over the last 5 centuries, colonists have been shipping out to the Scarred Land with the same dream as the original warriors. Every country in the world, with the exception of the Elven nations, has had its people leave for a better life in the colonies. Elves retained their attitude of quiet observation, although they continued to give assistance, and a second sea portal was constructed on the western coast 100 years after the first. The frontier has been steadily pushed back from both sides, so that all that remains of the original wilderness is a broad patch in the center, which is crammed full of monsters forced out of their original habitat. This patch is still called the Scarred Land. The settlers organized themselves into regional states, some feudal, some democratic, according to the citizens' preference. This collective of sub-kingdoms was termed the Eagle Nations, and it represents liberty and freedom from the chains of the past. They are literally America, yeah. It's funny, too, because, like,
I did originally put them down as humans because you said they came from Kaldraza, but by the sound of things, it sounds like everyone lives there.
Yeah,
so they're really in America, so I'm gonna put them down as mixed again.
Yeah, melting pot, absolutely. Now the shard, of course. It sounds like you're really curious about them.
No, it's just like so small, and they just...
Yeah, it's basically Guantanamo Bay. This island, once a small human prison colony, has been completely taken over by pirates. They prey on ships whose owners are too poor or too mean to pay to use the sea portals, and take the long overseas route to the Eagle Nations. The pirates of the Shard are not the only group of freebooters in the incarnate ocean, but is at least one other major group, the Sea Harriers, whose home has yet to be discovered. The Shard is really a self-created problem for Johannam, Kaldraza, and Cahur. When the Eagle Nations were still in their infancy, these countries used the Shard as a dumping ground for their undesirables, sending them there to live in exile as a preferable fate to execution. The criminals of the Shard soon organized themselves into an efficient force, making weapons from wood and using what limited magic they had to help shape metal. They were able to overpower a ship that came to deliver the next load of convicts, setting the prisoners free and using the ship to harass the colonists who were coming to the Eagle Nations to start a new life.
Jeez, Caribbean.
Yeah, basically. Reports tell of a pirate queen who rules the Shard. What's up, James?
I said bad children are sent to the Shard.
Yeah, bad naughty children are sent to the Shard.
Yeah,
Absolutely true.
When your parents put you to bed at night, they say you're going to send you to the Shard if you don't behave yourself. They get like really scared.
Yep. I love how, oh god, it's doing both now. That's great. It's going to be double notifying in my stream notifier. That's hilarious. Okay. Anyway, back to business. Yeah, the Shard.
So, I'm going to put them down as humans to the Shard because it sounds like undesirable humans go there. It's basically Austria meets like the Caribbean.
Reports of a pirate queen who rules the Shard, supposedly a former noble of Cahur. The Shard has not been a prison colony for many years. New arrivals are born rather than brought in on ships. A child born in the Shard is raised to be one thing, a rogue. The rogues trained up in the Shard sometimes make their way to other lands where they put their skills to good use. Of course, if you're from the Shard, you're probably kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Alright, so we've got 2 left. We have the Waste and Boskenland.
We've also got the, what's it called? The Corona at the top.
The Corona? We already talked about the Corona. That's the crown of the world. Where past the mountains and craggy peaks are supposedly something magical, but nobody's ever lived to tell the tale.
Ah, okay. So it's basically like the Antarctic. No one wants to go there, and it's scary.
Mm-hmm. And the spine, of course, being frost giants on the opposite end, for those that are not filled in. Which one do you guys want to do first? James, I'll let you pick. Boskenland or the Waste?
Let's try Boskenland. It sounds slightly more pleasant.
All right.
Sounds bosky.
The humans who live here have made their home about as cold and forbidden a place as could be imagined, yet they seem to like it. Boskenland is all birch woods, bleak hills, and blue rocky outcrops. The original human settlers were from Jahannam and have retained their burly, robust approach to life.
That's in England.
Well, no. It's probably closer to, like, Saskatchewan or something. Like.
Nice and cold.
Did somebody jump in?
Yeah, we have,
Sola join in?
Who joined?
It's me.
Oh.
Yeah, Sola came back.
Hello, Sola.
I thought Sola was already here.
You're totally good. Alright, and then finally we have The Waste. Go ahead. We are currently streaming, so I'm moving on the timing.
Yeah, who put me to sleep?
I don't know who put you to sleep. I mean, if you were in the quiet place, it probably was a 15-minute timeout, just so you know. Or a 30-minute timeout, whatever.
Yeah, so there's just the Waste left now.
Yeah.
I was gone for an hour.
Well, it's alright, don't worry about it. Beyond the limits of Boskenland and the Eagle Nations lies a zone of barren tundra that ultimately becomes the Arctic wasteland. No humanoids have ever settled here, for though there is enough hunting to support life, the area is home to dreadful monsters that shun the warmer climes of the south. There are local tales of a snow warlock or ice queen, the legends vary, who has a frosty citadel in the depths of the waste, but this has never been seen by human eyes. The nearest settlement to the waste is Omersdale, a thriving town built upon the fur trade. It's also based in our other country here. Right here, Boskenland. That settlement is actually right there.
That's right on the border.
Yep, pretty much. It's they hunt like seals and other things like that, as well as beaver.
Ooh, seal hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like
the White Vault. That's where it's filmed.
There you go. Exactly. Well, the White Vault was filmed in the Waste, obviously. Filmed, recorded, whatever. Anyway, that is a quick once-over of every country in the world. Of course, I realized that I fucked up earlier on with Visk, and we went through like 7 other countries before I figured out what the hell happened. So, a quick side note on Visk. Visk is basically the Mongolia of this world. They are the horse masters. They are the high, barbaric tribes. And they are incredibly, talented riders. They're very well known for attacking Jahannam, but Jahannam has the more superior skill with crafted arms and weaponry. Svarth is very dwarf-heavy. Gale is a barbarian land. Ermish is a barbarian land. Cahur is a typical kingdom. Let's see. Marduk Ram is basically Switzerland, but with monks. The Desert of Sharn is an inhospitable place which has magnetic megaliths that stop compasses from working. Nobody really lives there. Valjan is a democratic kingdom that is basically the in-between of Qual and Kundang. Qual is a wood elven kind of utopia of sorts where half-elves and elves, wood elves specifically, kind of live together. Kundang is a very heavily dragon-based sorceress magocracy with lots of inbreeding. And the Topaz Dominions is basically Egypt, just so everybody's aware about all of the basic components. That looks amazing, actually. So here's a quick notice of the map that Avion has created for us. Merak Meran is a country, but it's a place that we haven't talked about yet. Zas-Sarandai is, of course, the elven capital. This sea gate right here is actually many, many sea gates all around the island, which connect every other sea gate in the world to a vast network of teleporters. And yeah, that's our current setup.
I also got rid of that island that disappeared.
Oh yeah, lost to Thule. Athui. This place sank into the ocean at some point. The elves were trading with this weird, mysterious, tentacled biped race. They built a sea gate there, and then one day they showed up and the entire fucking thing was gone and dead bodies in the water.
Some Cthulhu crap.
Yeah, yep. I was about to say, that is the Lovecraftian area. Absolutely.
What's even better about it, too, do you recognize the bodies in the water?
Sadly, I don't.
Okay. Of course, for those that don't know, that's an SCP joke.
For a place that you said, oh, it's really, colonized by elves. There's not a lot of elvish places. There's like a lot of mixtures. There's like...
Well, they were colonized by elves, but humans already lived there, is kind of the concept.
Yeah, so it was like a case of like very decentralized colonization. Like, hey, you pay taxes. A bit like the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
You pay taxes, but you can be your own thing.
Essentially, yes. That's very much the facts. Alright. Elves are incredibly powerful, of course. They still are the heads of the world. They're just in decline. A way to say that anything about the elves is they were total jerks at one point. Now they're not so much jerks anymore. They just exist.
Except them Drow. The entire party has to hate the Drow.
I never said that. I just said that Drow are irredeemably evil. What's up?
I am a ranger, and I took favorite enemy elf, by the way.
Elf specifically.
Elf specifically, so if anyone in the party is playing an elf, I will shoot you many times in the kneecaps, because that's all I can reach.
Apparently not.
What are you playing as, Sticks? Like,
Gnome Ranger.
Gnome Ranger.
He is very grumpy.
Is he from Vela?
He's like, you should name him Grumpy.
Oh my god. But yeah, is he from Vela, James?
I don't know what that means yet.
The hills of Vela where the gnomes live. They've kept goodwill with their halfling neighbors in Verd for many years, although they are far more curious and eager to explore the world than the halflings are. The academies of Vela are acknowledged to be the best in the world. Mechanical sciences and handcrafting are concerned, and as a result, gnome artisans are in high demand.
Sure, sounds good.
Alright, so you're probably more of an adventure-y gnome. But yeah, that's our world. Yes. Officially speaking, we've been streaming for a little while, which it's not telling me yet, live for 1 hour and 8 minutes, and we have 1 current viewer.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
Yeah.
That poor fucker.
Ouch.
Don't be mean.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's totally alright.
It's less mean to them and more mean to us. We aren't that interested.
Yep, something like that. And then, of course, we got all the other things in the new unread, so let's get a quick once over. Yep, looks great, Mr. Barrel Writer. I appreciate that.
I just want to make it easier so people can look at it and go, oh, okay, that's where my character comes from.
Yeah, totally.
And then they can just find out some more about that certain place instead of like looking for them all.
For anybody that's able to actually provide like either input in text or anything like that, what I'll do, if you guys have thought about where you're from considering this primer, I will kind of go down the list and have you give a quick name of your character and where you're from and what your class is. Obviously, we just had James do that, and we agreed that he's from Vela. Or is your gnome a male or female?
Who knows? It's a gnome, man.
You come from that island. That's you guys came from the chillest place. How can you be?
Yeah, well, I'll explain kind of how you guys all came together at the beginning of the next session. We already heard a lot about Pyrrhus, so of course Omni's already done their thing. Avion, give me a bit of your character. Let's hear about that.
God. I need to pull up his name again because it was something like really long, and I made it cool, and I forgot it is now.
No, it's totally okay. When it's really long and cool, it's super entertaining.
Let me just load up Roll20 for a second.
Mm-hmm. For the record, my character's name is Valen and then he's got like sort of as the title, Grumpy Softwalker.
Mm-hmm. Grumpy Softwalker. That's amazing. Let's see here.
Okay, so we've got Alexandran Tresba, who comes from what's it called? Calresia.
Caldraza?
Yeah,
Okay.
Caldraza at the top. He's the only person left in a minor family up there, so he has a little bit of land, but he doesn't really care about it very much. He's never really there.
Mm-hmm. That's totally fine. All right. And
But he mostly just lets the people just do what they want up there, and he doesn't really care.
that makes sense. We got ourselves a nice little picture of them, and we are playing a Duskblade.
Yeah, Duskblade. He went to the major cities to just learn magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
See, because he was bored.
And yeah, our favorite human little friend. So of course, let's put in Keldraza for that. There we go. And now your homeland is locked in. We got Pyrrhus, who is from Visk. We have our Shota Trap, which of course does not have a name yet, but Kazuko. If you are able to speak, I'm not sure where you are. You're also totally welcome to just like post who you are, where you're from, if you want to. And of course, while you're doing that, we'll go down to Joe, if Joe's available as well. I'm missing D, that's right.
Yeah, D's at school.
Yep. D will be at school until roughly noon, and then I'm going to be going to his birthday party, so...
Oh, Joe's here, though. You can ask Joe about his character.
Cool. All right, Joe, go ahead and go through, I guess, your basic once-over of that. And what do we have here? That's totally fine. We can always talk more about that a little bit later on. And when I do the first session, I'm going to have everybody kind of introduce their character a bit more directly, preferably via voice if that's possible, but, I know Joe has a preference for not doing that. If that's the case, of course, and I have a spectator, which I do have a few, and sometimes when they show up, I'll try to have them read
the responses of the person who's muted themselves.
Yes, please. That would be lovely. That way it'll be easier just to make sure people don't have to like squint at the screen in order to watch, even though we probably don't have that many things. Ismar do not have a city specifically. Ismar are typically born into human populations as a rare birth. As an example...
I need to look at these Ismar. They sound interesting.
Ismar are really cool. They're basically tieflings, but celestial. And in this case, Eosmar are born to humans that have some celestial blood within them, and it just so happens that the nascent, genetics activate those specific pieces of their body. They are incredibly beautiful most of the time. They have higher charisma and wisdom. And as a house rule, I have included that they have a -2 constitution and do not have the ability to cast daylight once per day, because that would be broken. Well, I should say broken. It's more specific that it would give them a +1 level adjustment, and we start at level 1. However, I would allow Kazuko to be able to cast light once per day as a spell-like ability, because tieflings have the ability to cast darkness once per day.
Yeah, that's what I thought about the Asmar. They're like bird people.
They are not bird people.
They look
Eosmar
like bird people.
are... they're very, like... Oh, Jesus. Did somebody... Who? What?
I hit push to talk, and the speaker started talking.
Okay, it confused me. Okay, that's totally fine. And totally fine, Joe. I'll upload the stream to YouTube here a little bit later, and you guys are always welcome to access it directly from Twitch when it comes up and online. At the moment, we're all live on the system. Nobody's really watching as far as I am aware. Got a notification. Yeah, cool. And yeah, there's not a whole lot going on in that regard. Zoom in on the PDF. Oh, sorry, Peter. He said that like a while ago, but I wasn't looking at the stream at all. Alright, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, zoom in on the PDF, but that's a thing. Also, look, infinite screen. Okay.
The mirror ad infinitum.
I should probably cut the last part of this off. Alright, I'm going to end the stream as of now. We got through the countries of the world. Next stream will probably be just like the initial opening information about where you guys begin, and then live play from there. Which I have yet to actually decide on when, but Peter did provide me with a wonderful time zone manager, app that I'm going to play with, and I actually would like Avion to stick around for that. In the meantime, bye, stream.